Uh, People ask me, or one person asked me, or someone told me to make a guide for finding a soulmate. I think when I was looking for somebody is completely different to how it is now. How it is now, it's all about dating apps, and I think dating apps are really the summary of it's really the summary of kind of dystopian world that we're at, where we are putting something that's very human. We're putting all our faith of something that we need as humans into these algorithmic machines, right? It's determining who we think we will be into. It's determining who we think we could engage with, and more importantly, since it's a business, it's also an algorithm, a system that doesn't want us to actually truly find love in that regard, right? Because if we do exit the app or don't spend on the app, then the business itself fails. So I think it wants you to have experiences that are good and make you coming back to the app, but it doesn't want you to be completely self-sufficient through the app. And I don't even know if a business or an algorithm could even achieve that level of balance, right? Of like both giving you some success, but not enough success to get off the app. So I'm a little conflicted about dating apps. I also just have no experience with them because dating apps are extremely superficial, right? It gives two problems. One is that it gives the person a lot more accessibility and choice, and thus decision making, which not everybody can handle. And two, it means that the person's standards can go much higher, and it kind of has that effect of like, I don't want to miss out on the right guy just because I'm going for this guy. So the idea of settling or even having your relationships turn into what they usually have to be, which is compromise. The tolerance and the ability to compromise in your relationships is much shorter because people think I don't need to tolerate this. I don't need to be in this relationship, or there are enough quality traits that I enjoy that I don't think I could find somewhere else. So I think dating apps have really skewed the ability to find someone we really connect with on the idea that we always have to, on the idea that we think there's someone better, or that we think it's a buyer's market, right? When in reality, it's just a skewed perception of things. In terms of comments here, I heard that dating apps are a good place to find a situationship, one night stand. Most young people are not looking for long-term relationships. I think the data actually finds that situationships or one night stands are not actually as common as people think they are. I think situationships are also just consequences of dating apps. And the view of monogamy has also been skewed in the sense that why settle for one person when you have access to so many more people to fulfill your different needs, rather than trying to find some of your needs, or the ones you can really value, which you haven't really prioritized because you're just trying to fulfill them all. I forgot my point, but the point was that I think monogamy, due to dating apps and due to the ability to have a lot more access and partners of different variations in sizes and values, means that situationships have kind of blossomed. I don't think apps are meant for situationships. I think situationships are the consequence of this app integration. The thing you have to understand about apps is that it's creating a middleman. In our head, we think apps are a more convenient way and a cheaper way, to be honest, to find people we think we would really like. But what you really need to understand is that you're not meeting people. You're meeting a middleman who then connects you to people. And so the idea of apps being an idea of convenience is actually just kind of a little bit of a, not short-sightedness, it's just a mislead of what it really is. Oh shit, I should not have waited. Someone else said, the platforms also suffer from gender imbalance where women are bombarded with message requests while men are very unlikely to get a response. That's always been a thing though. It's just this gender imbalance, it's always been a thing. And I can't talk and play because it's such a deeper subject, but the gender imbalance on platforms is just a lot more concentrated, and again, it lets women have they both have a lot more accessibility, and also raises their not just tolerance but ability to desire to compromise. Also, one thing you also need to understand is that women over decades, because they're getting more rights, because they're getting higher education, because they are ever more self-sufficient than ever before, they don't need to. The qualities of man have to be much higher than they were before. It can't be like you have a good job, you know, you come from a good family, stuff like that. It can't be those kind of things. It's now has to be more, right? You have to have more in order to attract a good partner, right? Because a good job, that's not always necessary. You have women who have great jobs now. You know, good family, that's not always necessary, because sometimes, you know, the lineage of family or the importance of family is honestly not as high prioritized, right? The independency and the accessibility that women and men have now means that the standards are higher. So the amount of people who are not finding partners is also much higher as well, because the standards are just vastly more raised, and more importantly, the ability to find some of those standards being matched is also vastly raised. I think I'm reaching a little here, but that's my opinion. Wow, you guys are talking a lot. Why you making such good points, Rena? I have a degree in sociology, so I have a little bit of the ability to think sociologically. Exactly. I'll go out with this guy, but I'll keep scrolling to find someone better. Exactly. You don't want to feel locked down, or you don't want to feel like you're missing out. I also think, honestly, that people are very narrow in what they're looking for. I mean, if you look at statistics for dating on apps, there are some ethnic groups that people will not date. I think black women have like the least match opportunities. I also think if you're like I have a friend in San Francisco. He's Chinese, and he works at a tech-ish field. I'm trying not to say too much, but if you're of Asian descent, or if you're Asian in, let's say, San Francisco, you're not going to stand out really all that well, just because there's just a lot of the same kind of person there. For black women, I think I think a lot of people just don't want to date a different ethnic group that they personally don't find attractive, even though, I mean, there are just so many amazing black women. Jesus Christ. I mean, if I was dating, I would 100% go for them, Christ. I've always liked people who were different than me, so. But I think statistically, yeah, I think black women have some of the hardest. I think indie men also have some of the hardest match rate, just because it's really hard to have yourself stand out, especially in areas or regions where there are a huge concentrate of those kind of people. Or the opposite, if there's a lack of exposure and experience and understanding of your ethnicity, and it has a deep effect, right? If you look at me, okay, I'm white passing. I'm a little Middle Eastern, a little Latino looking. Okay, a lot of people can look through that because it's not as, you know, penetrative, right? It's not as emphasized, so to speak. If I had an accent, or I was much more darker skinned, then obviously it would have a lot more of an effect on people's determination if they would be interested in me on a superficial level. And this is apps we're talking about. So with apps, how you look has a much higher level of or a much higher degree of I wouldn't say cynicism, but more criticism. And you have to look good in photos too. So you're not really able to present yourself in a more animated way. Like, I'm not that great on photos, but I can be relatively charming, I think. In person, at least I hope. And I think that's very important. And in the context of where you're meeting this person as well, it's not that great on apps. On apps, it's a lot of dressage, so to speak. Let's see what you guys said. Too many options spoils the broth. I really activated the card here. People meant to find a partner at school, university. I would say to finding your soulmate is... I think there's a bit of a vicious circle when it comes to finding your soulmate. We need the relationship when I play Gothic 12 hours a day. Yes, you'll definitely meet someone there. Also, dating apps use many AI bots for the ladies. Oh, that's awful. I didn't know that. Also, OF scams, man. Damn, that's annoying. I didn't know that. So, have you ever said how you met your GF? I met my girlfriend. I could tell you how I met my girlfriend, then I could talk about the vicious circle of relationships. Your height on apps, that matters? Yeah, there's a lot of superficiality. Good thing ladies can't see on the app my 169 centimeter height. I don't know what that is. Tell me in feet and inches. Okay, there's 3 things to say. So one is also in some Asian countries, dating as a foreigner is much harder because they will date you, but they wouldn't see themselves in a committed relationship. And that's also an emphasis on values, right? The family wouldn't really accept that, especially for more monotonous or ethnocentric perceived countries. In Asia, it's hard. It's also hard to maintain relationships in Asia as well if you're of a different culture. I think the stories you read about, like foreigners marrying Japanese women, and then kind of the challenge of integrating themselves into Japanese culture and the workforce, but also in kind of the understandings of how a relationship is supposed to work in Japan versus, let's say, in a more Western state is both sad but not rare. Let's talk about the second thing. How did I meet my girlfriend? How I met my girlfriend? I met my girlfriend on December 31st, 2012? 2013? She doesn't like this context, but the context was I just got out of my first relationship, which was for 7 years. And I was doing, and this would be my advice for anyone trying to look for a relationship. I was looking to get out there. I'm not a very social person, despite my ability to mask a good personality-ish. And the simple version is that basically we met at a party. We talked a lot. I was relatively funny, charming, at least enough to pique their interest. I connected with her and this mutual friend of ours. We hung out a little bit more in Berlin. She was from the Netherlands. I lived in Berlin at the time. Took my first vacation ever on my own to the Netherlands, and just kind of worked our way up from there. And we stuck together ever since then. She was getting her master's degree. I was doing different work jobs. So after Berlin, I moved to Copenhagen. I flew her out every month. And then when I went to LA, that was the time where we had to do long distance. I flew her out once. And then after that job, I moved back to Berlin. She finished her degree. We moved in together in Berlin. And then when things moved on, I moved to the Netherlands. And I'll be honest, I moved to the Netherlands both for her, but also because I really couldn't figure out any other place I would want to be. I didn't have any preference. I wanted to stay in Europe. That was one thing. I really didn't connect with the U.S. culture or the work culture in the U.S. I really didn't sit well with me. I really hated it. I also didn't drive, so working in most parts of the U.S. didn't make sense. And I didn't want to drive. And then I didn't want to go back to Canada for personal reasons. So I was like, I'll just stay in Europe. And I had a job still when we moved back to the Netherlands. And so I said, I'll just stay in Europe. I'm a Swiss citizen. I can stay here forever. And then it's like I could live in maybe 5 countries. I could live in Denmark, Copenhagen, but I didn't care for how dark it got so early and so cold in the winter. I could live in Berlin, but I hated the city because it was so dirty. It wasn't dirty. It it was just it's a very young place. I just didn't like it. It's gotten better, but when I lived there in 2013, 2014, and then 2018 and 19, I think, or 2017, 2017, 2018, I didn't care. I didn't care for the city at all, and it just frustrated me to no end. I could live in Paris, but my girlfriend didn't speak French, so that's really it. I mean, there are other cities, right? But I didn't really like them at all. So the Netherlands is kind of halfway point, and it has everything I would need. It's not everything I want, but it has everything I need, and that's kind of how we're in the relationship now. Everyone I know shits on Berlin, truly one of the cities of all time. Everyone I know who lives in Berlin loves Berlin. Switzerland, German-speaking canton? No, I would live probably in Bern, but my family is from Luzerne, so I would never live in Zurich. Zurich is awful. I'd move there if I had a Japanese partner. I have a what about moving to Japan? This is such a long conversation. I tried to live a month in Japan when Red Bull, when I was collaborating with Red Bull. I'm studying in Zurich. Zurich's nice, but I could never live there. It's very expensive. My girlfriend is Japanese. She's a Japanese citizen. Her Japanese is great. As a foreigner, I can obviously evaluate if someone's Japanese is good or not. Would I live in Japan? I tried to live there. I tried to live in Japan, but there were 3 elements that were a challenge. One, they're very not welcoming to foreigners living there if you don't speak the language. And even when you speak the language, there's a very huge gap of experiences. When I first moved to Berlin in 2013, I worked for a Korean company, and they only spoke Korean. Okay, there was a guy who was from Munich who was Korean. He speaks perfect Korean, perfect German, perfect English. But otherwise, I could not understand. I think all the senior partners I couldn't understand at all. And you can already tell working in that Korean company that if you were not Korean, there was a huge gap of both access, growth in terms of the company, culture, and you just felt very separated. You were forgiven a lot for the mistakes you made, and if you were Korean, you got shitted on a lot for the mistakes you made. So I already had a sense of what the challenge would be if I moved to an Asian country. The second part of Japan is that it's very bureaucratic. People think Japan is the future. It's actually China. Japan is very antiquated. It's a retrofuturism country. They have fees on the weirdest things, like transferring between 2 accounts on your bank. They have, like, putting out the trash, let's say in Tokyo, is like, you gotta put the trash out only on the night before or very early in the morning. So you gotta wake up at like 6, 7. This is what I remember. And you put your trash out in a bag on the street. That's it. But you need to clean out any of the Tupperware that you use. Let's say like those takeout Tupperwares from the grocery store. You gotta clean those out perfectly. You gotta separate your trash like 5 times. And if you don't do it right, they throw it back on your door. It's very tedious and very annoying. And that's a small thing. Signing up for things, very long, very tedious. Getting a phone contract, etc. And honestly, the language separation, it's rough. If you're rich and you want to live in Japan, I think go for it. If you're not rich and you need to integrate yourself with the society as a whole, I think it's very challenging. I also think it's very isolating, even for someone like me who doesn't even go outside. Also Japanese food, I'm sorry. I get tired of Japanese food after like 3 months. The food is great, okay, but there's only so many times I can eat buttery steak before I get tired. Yeah. They do a lot of great foods, but they also do a lot of great foods, but I also think there's some foods they don't do. I think living in Japan it would be quite a treat. I just don't think I could stay there for as long as I think other people could. I love Tokyo because I love big cities. I find it very charming, but I don't think I would fit in as well as I do. And I'm not wide enough to be enshrined in acceptability, but I'm also not.
All right, sir.
I'm also not brown enough where people are super scared. I'm just concerning. I have a very, when I'm mad or when I put on a regular face, when I'm not like on camera or anything, it's a very serious, it's airport step aside sir level of concern. It's not like this guy's clearly suspicious. It's like something he doesn't look happy about. So that's the level. And then in Japan that would be even more emphasized. I love Japan though. A lot of things I really appreciate. I appreciate the cleanliness. I appreciate nobody bothers you. I love that. It's like Switzerland, but like even more intense, I would say. I love some of its modernity as well. I probably would love China too, though. What about the earthquake? I have not experienced that. Yeah. And then the last question is, how would you, how do you meet your soulmate? Or the vicious circle of a soulmate? Yeah, the vicious circle of a soulmate. It's tough. I think, honestly, the vicious circle of soulmate is twofold. One, you need to expand your interests. If all you do is stay inside and play video games, you're never going to meet anybody. Unless that person also stays inside in your effing house and also plays video games all day. And also finds you remotely attractive. So you need to expand your interests. And then the last thing is you need to expand your social circles. I think there are still periods or people where you can meet, times or periods or people that you can still meet and like say hey and just randomly go up to them and go like, I find you attractive, or I think you're pretty cool. I'd love to meet you in a more casual setting. I think that's still very real. I just don't think it's very normal or considered normal these days. I think, let me see if I can whoop this guy's ass while talking about this. I think there now needs to be a cool, I can't do this. I think there needs to be a warm setting where you can meet different people and then individualize someone that you would want to go out with. I think that's honestly the approach. So like parties, gatherings, you know, running clubs, I don't know, sport events or sport fitness stuff, things that get you out, things that get you in a good light, and things that connect you with people who have similar interests, similar friends, similar opportunities, similar interests, similar events, etc. I think those are how you can come in contact with potential partners. And then the other half is also, as you guys are saying, confidence. But confidence means you have to like yourself, and two, you have to be open-minded about the idea of being with someone. And then I think the third challenge with dating or with finding a partner is that you need to know what you want. And people think they know what they want, but they don't know what they want, because you can't know what you want without knowing what you don't want. People think, I want a beautiful girlfriend who's very attractive, who I want to have sex with, da, da, da. And then you realize that, you know, maybe that's not just it. Maybe you want more from that, right? Maybe you want someone who has the same values as you, you know, or somebody who's as educated as you, so your only discussions aren't about comic books or some shit. Maybe you want somebody who, like for me, I thought I wanted a girlfriend who played video games. Turns out I didn't want that. I wanted somebody who got me out to do other things. And it was both a confidence I had that I knew what I liked, but it was also confidence about the things that the things I liked weren't enough and would not be a fulfilling life. And it takes a certain level of maturity and understanding of your limitations. And that's also about loving yourself and about being confident that you understand that you are deeply flawed as a person, and that the person you're with is also deeply flawed. And I think, bringing it back full circle, that dating apps don't have that level of forgiveness and don't have that level of compromise anymore. And so we being millennials have been through a ton of shit, and a lot of things are unfair about millennials, as with any generation. But one thing we should be very grateful is we're not in the dating fucking world. Because it sounds like ass. F that. Jesus Christ. I could not date in this world. I could not date in this world because I don't do good at texting. I text terribly. I suck ass at texting. So I can't be funny, I can't laugh, I can't have a smile if I'm texting. Okay, I can't put my face as an emoji in a fucking dating app. And even then, that's not attractive either, right? Yes, you can. It's not the same as like this gesticular animation of what you're seeing here. So I am grateful. I do know if I get divorced, or excuse me, if my partner leaves me, or if I leave her, or it doesn't work out, which is very real and possible, I would probably be single forever. Especially at my age, because now it's getting into like, here's a girl, but she has a kid, and I'm like, I don't really want to be with someone who has a kid. Anyway, let's play Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't know how long that talk was, but let's play.